And that's where my wife and I are in life right now. Is we got our kids grown, got them out of the house, we had a quick snack, now we're raising our parents. I swear they passed each other in the driveway. And let me tell you something, I thought teenagers were crazy. Teenagers are a piece of cake compared to old people. They're nuts. I was getting my car serviced a while back, and they called to say it was ready. I called my father-in-law. I said, hey, can you give me a ride to the car dealership? On the way to the dealership, he needed to stop for gas. I learned on that little stop that it is possible to wash your entire car with the squeegee from the gas station. And I know this because I sat in the passenger seat and watched him do it. Well, I sat there until the guy at the next pump started videoing it. Then I slid down in the floorboard because I didn't want to get tagged on Instagram. He got back in the car. I said, you do realize the gas station has got a car wash right there? He goes, yeah, well, that's $6. I'm like, so to save $6, you gave away all your dignity and washed your car with a squeegee and the dirtiest water on the planet Earth.
So I'm a bow hunter. I'm a big outdoor guy. I bow hunt. I like to fish. I look for arrowheads all over the country. I love being outdoors. So I'm on a bow hunt in the Northwest Territories of Canada, 30 miles south of the Arctic Circle. And anybody that says we're running out of places for people to live has never been up there, because it's like the moon. There's nothing. I mean, we were staying in this little, we got dropped off by a float plane, and we were staying in this little lean-to down by a lake, but to hunt these caribou, they lived up above the sheep. I didn't know that. I thought, caribou, I've seen them on TV. They go in herds of thousands, and you just hide behind a rock and shoot one. Hell no, they're up there above the sheep. And I'm like asking the guide, where are we going to go? He goes, well, see the top of that mountain? I'm like, oh, no, really? He goes, no, the mountain past that. That's where we're going. So you just walk your butt off. So the first day we go up there, and it seems like we walked forever, and we found a few caribou, but none we wanted to shoot. So we stay out there glassing all day, and at night we're walking back. And I mean, we probably walked 10 or 12 miles. You know, you got these backpacks on, you're carrying your bow, and you're dead tired. And as we crest the hill down in the valley, I can see the lake where our lean-to is. And our guide's like, come on, we're going this way to the left. I go, dude, no. I said, we can cut straight down through here and cut the distance in half, and we'll be back at the lean-to. He goes, we could, but that's where all the grizzly bears live, is right down in that valley. And I'm like, why don't we go this way over here? But I learned an important lesson in that is don't guide the guide. Don't guide the guide. He's the reason you paid him to be there. Well, it was the same thing in my life. I didn't have a great father modeled for me, but that didn't mean I couldn't be a great father. What I needed to do was to find guides. And so I would look at guys that I knew that were great dads, and I would just pick their brains. I'm like, tell me, how do you be a great, I don't know. Tell me how you be a great dad. I would find guys that were great husbands. And I'm like, tell me how to do this. You know, every guy in my family has been divorced for the past 7 generations. How do I be a husband that doesn't end up like that? And you know, one of the things that I learned, and that's why being authentic is so important, because you're not just being authentic with other people, you got to be authentic with yourself. You got to be authentic and tell yourself, hey, this is where I know that I've got a blind spot, or I got a weak spot, because mine was never alcohol. I mean, I don't have anything against it. It doesn't do it for me. I'm just not a big drinker. It's never been drugs. I'm not going to tell you that I haven't tried things way back in the past, but that never did it for me. But like my dad, I have always appreciated a good-looking woman. So like when we were doing the blue collar tour, and this is going on, I've done stand up for almost 40 years. This has always been the way I do it. But I knew out of the things that get men in trouble, that's where I was vulnerable. The other two, I wasn't going to go out and do heroin. I wasn't going to go out and get blackout drunk. But I like a pretty girl. So when we would do blue collar at the end of the night, we'd get through with the show, and the other guys would always go out and hang out at a bar, and they would go, Fox, come on, and let's go have a beer. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to go back to my room and order room service and call home. And it wasn't that I thought having a beer was a bad thing. Not at all. Here's what I knew. I knew Jeff, not being a drinker, if he had one beer and we were having fun and laughing and cutting up, I'd probably have 2 beers. And if I had 2 and we're still laughing and drinking and cutting up, I might have 3 beers. Well, now, Jeff's getting happy, and all it takes is somebody in a low-cut dress that smells good sitting down next to me, and I'm going to start flirting with her. And I'm in a really precarious situation where I can do the same thing that my dad did. And so I'm like, be wise. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to be vulnerable. Because if you break that thing at home, you can glue it back together, but it's never the same. It's never going to be the same. So be wise and don't if your thing is alcohol, don't go out to the bar. It's going to get you in trouble. Be honest with yourself. All of us have weak spots. All of us have blind spots. But be wise enough to avoid those spots. Because here's what happens. Trust, and you know this with your friends, trust is built, it's like a cup of coffee. You build trust one drop at a time. When you meet somebody, you don't know nothing about them, you have no trust. And then you'll go out and you'll do something together and you go, I really like that dude. And you got a couple of drops of trust in there. And then over the months and over the years, that cup fills up one drop at a time and it's full. But when you break trust, it's like breaking the bottom out of that coffee cup. You don't lose it a drop at a time. You lose it all at once. And when you lose it, it never comes back the way it was before. And so for me, yeah, I like a pretty girl, but I didn't want my kids to look at me that way. I didn't want my kids to look at me the way I would look at my dad when he was on marriage number 4 and we'd go out to eat somewhere and he'd start flirting with the waitress and I'm like, holy crap, here we go again. Because he may end up leaving me at the restaurant and leaving with her. He was good. He was really good. Here's the weird thing with kids. They're stinking smart. And it was real funny. Like, my life led me doing things that I never envisioned me doing. For decades, I worked with kids with cancer. My wife and I were the head fundraising people for the Duke Children's Hospital, and I did a ton of things with St. Jude's, and just love working with kids with cancer. There's somewhere in here that makes me want to squeal. So I got invited one day. A guy invited me down to the Atlanta Mission. Well, I'd never been homeless. I never cared about homeless people. That's nasty. That's honest. My care of homeless people was if you came up to my car at the stop sign, here's $5, please go away. And I had a guy invite me to lunch at the Atlanta Mission. The first kid I met down there, 21 years old, in the heart of Atlanta, living at the Atlanta Mission. My first thought, if we're going to be authentic, is get out of here. You're 21 years old, you're healthy, get a job. His name was Jason. Of course, being a comic and a writer, I want to know everybody's story. I said, Jason, what's your story? Why in the hell are you in a homeless mission? He said, well, it was my mom and dad and me and my brother. And when I was 11, my mom killed herself. He said, 2 years after that, my brother killed himself. And it was me and my dad. We were doing pretty good. In my second year of college, my dad killed himself. And he said, I got to where I couldn't feel anything. I could not hurt anymore, so I started smoking crack and flunked out of school, lost a place to live, lost all my money, and I just couldn't hurt anymore. And I'm sitting across from him going, hell, I would have started smoking crack too. And all of a sudden you realize there, but for the grace of God, I'm in a homeless mission. And what I learned over the years, people tend to view them as drug addicts or alcoholics, and a lot of them are. But that's the symptom. If you go back and find out the reason, so many of them had been molested, so many of them had been abandoned, so many of them had, some horrible trauma had happened to them early in life, and the hurt was so bad they couldn't deal with it, so they numbed. And so I asked the guy, I said, why'd you invite me down here? He goes, I want you to start a small group. There we go again, small group. He said, these guys have chapel a couple of times a week. They've never had a small group. And my dumb ass said yes, which is the only thing we can do for God is say yes when he whispers something to us. I said, and I did say to him, I said, there's almost 7 million people in Atlanta, and you can't find anybody more qualified to do this than me, But I said yes. And I had to, when I first started going, I had to stop at Chick-fil-A and buy them chicken biscuits just to get them to come. I had to bribe them. And it started with me and 12 guys, and over the course of a dozen years, it grew to 32 group leaders and almost 300 homeless guys every Tuesday morning. I would get up at 5 o'clock, which was really hard for me because when you're a comic, you're doing a show late, and because I had kids, I would lease a plane. I spent so much money. I would fly home every night, no matter where I was on the road. If I was doing a show in Minnesota, I'd do it. I'd get back on that plane. I'd fly home. I'd land at PDK at 2. I'd go home. I'd get up at 6, and I'd take them to school. I went through like a decade without sleeping. But when I would do the missions on Tuesday morning, I had to get up at 5 because I had to be at Chick-fil-A at 6:30 and wait for them to unlock the door in order to be downtown by 7. And I did it forever. And one of my daughters told me not long ago, I never said anything to the kids about it. She said, Dad, she said, do you know what one of the pillars of my faith is? Is how, without saying anything about it, and I know you were dead tired and you got up at 5 o'clock and you would go get those biscuits and you would go down there and do Bible study with those guys. And she said, I just used to think if there's something that good that you felt that need to share it, that I need to delve into it deeper. So that just became one of the... So it's not just what you say. It's because if what you're saying is not what you're doing, it's hollow. It's what you do. You have to be a guy that lives it out.
You see a lot of things in airports. They tell us now the economy's bad. You see it in the airports. Because everywhere we go now, all the rental car places are selling the used rental cars. And I have driven some bad vehicles in my life. I have never been so desperate for an automobile, I wanted a used rental car. Because you know what people do to rental cars. My mother will not drive 55 miles an hour. You put her in a rental car, she's doing donuts in the grocery store parking lot. Buying a used rental car is kind of like going to a house of ill repute looking for a wife. Anything that's been driven that hard by that many people, you really don't want to put your key in it. Well, there's no incentive to take care of a rental car because if you pay the extra insurance, you can total that rental car and they'll bring you another one. And I recommend always get the additional insurance. They're like, Mr. Foxworthy, would you like the additional coverage? I'm like, yes, I would. Because you got a Ford Fiesta that's about to see more airtime than a skateboard at the X Games. When the girls were little, I had latches on cabinets to keep them out of the dishwashing detergent. My parents gave my brother and I a chemistry set. And Mom, Joey put ammonium sulfate in my eye. Tell him I said, stop! You boys go play with the wood-burning kid. Better yet, go outside, get on the mini bikes and shoot the BB guns. Just a different world. Even the way we treat our kids' pets has totally changed. My daughters had this hamster, little white hamster. His name was Herman. And one day Herman's hair started falling out. A lot. And my wife got very concerned, and she said, I think we need to take Herman to the vet. I said, baby, Herman cost $5. Perhaps it's time we let Herman loose out in the woods. Born free. And she started getting mad at me. And I said, let me tell you something. I said, when I was growing up, there was no chance. We had a $5 pet that was going to see the inside of a veterinarian's office. Very few of our pets went to the veterinarian. You know what happened to our pets? They ran away. I remember one time my brother and I found this dog. We brought him home and the dog barked all night long for the first 3 nights we had him. Then on the 4th day, while we were at school, he ran away. We had a cat that started climbing my mother's curtain. She ran away. I remember having goldfish that ran away. But my wife said, oh no, Herman is our pet. He's our responsibility. I'll take him to the vet. And she did. She took the $5 hamster to the vet. And $65 later, Herman's hair is still falling out. Herman looked bad. Herman looked like Edgar Winter on Rogaine. Yeah. And I said, $65? Hon, we could have bought 13 new Hermans for $65. I said, when your medical bills are 13 times what you're worth, either you are really, really cheap or you are really, really sick. I said, put it this way. I said, let's say your grandma went to the doctor and they told her it was going to take $13 million to make her well. I said, you cannot look me in the eye and tell me there's not a chance. We'd be calling the kids downstairs going, girls, sit down. We have some bad news. Meemaw has run away. People start to laugh at that one, and then they feel bad about that. Oh, because you picture your grandmother in the woods. Is anybody else cold?